Thank you, Ray.
Thank
You
you.
can pass that on
By
to...
the way, imagine with no family support.
Right.
So Fremont County does have some support services. For you out there that provide those, I say thank you from my heart.
Okay. The next gentleman is Richard Carta. He's a good friend of ours, or actually a member of our family. And so he's going to talk about one aspect of being food insecure. And so Richard, let's talk about your shopping experience with the monies that you had. You were telling me some of the typical things that you would buy with the money that you had. So can you just let the folks know what kind of things you were looking at?
Well, for the most part, I don't cook very well. So a lot of what I get is the pre-prepared stuff, like the frozen dinners, the small, cheap ones. And then I try to buy meat from the deli and cheese, and then I buy like boxes of kiwis, and bananas, fruits like that.
Okay. So using that buying strategy, were you able to feel full with the amount of food that you had?
Well, as long as it lasted.
As long as it lasted, okay. So with these microwave dinners and things like that, you and I were talking about this. You obviously were buying the really expensive ones, right? The ones that were like $1 a piece, right?
Yeah.
And so would one of those fill you up?
No, it would take like 3 because they're so small
Okay.
to fill me up.
So obviously you're going out shopping and thinking, okay, I got this one little package, and you think that might do it. It's not cutting
It's
it.
not cutting it.
Right. Were you able to get to the end of the month with the money that you had?
No.
Okay. And about when would you be running out?
It would probably be the 3rd week of the month.
Okay. So remember that statistic that I threw out? This is an actual individual in that situation. One of the goals here is to put faces and names to the problem. It's not an academic problem to be worked in a vacuum. The problem has people behind this. So Richard, we've taught you how to make spaghetti.
Yes.
Okay. Was that a big deal for you?
Well, it was because I felt kind of ashamed that I hadn't learned how to cook earlier on.
Right. But knowing how to cook and being able to make that spaghetti, do you think you're more full?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
More filling than the frozen dinners.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Richard. If you can just pass that back down. So we've only just interviewed these people just for a few minutes each, but I hope that you take away from this situation the reality of what's going on out there. And again, each person only addressed one thing, but this problem creates a whole gamut of issues. And so these individuals here, or Anna, who's representing somebody, are dealing with a lot of issues beyond this that they testified to today. So I want to thank you for your authenticity and transparency and your courage to come up here and do this. I know, Richard, this was not a comfortable situation for you, or for any of you for that matter. And so thank you very much for your testimony. You can get down. Okay, so those of you that are in service providing, you probably were aware of these issues. But a lot of these aspects of this problem, I wasn't aware of. And so I hope that you gained a little bit of insight from what they were saying. The next portion here, we have invited some people to speak about various things. And so I'm going to bring up the first speaker.
Okay, she just stepped out. Really quick.
Oh, okay.
You may just want to take like a 4-minute break or something, just to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, just literally 4 minutes though, because we got a packed program, so. Oh, and Chris out in the cafe would love it if you bought yourself a latte or something.
You have time to break one out? Yep. Let me look up some. Okay.
Yeah, I
Without
didn't, I
interrupting
should
too
have,
much.
I should have.
I'm sorry?
If it's in this scale, if it's different way.
Why don't you tell her? Yeah, I guess you could just
I can
go
give you the
grab
whole board.
right out of the.
Got some bread? Did you get some bread?
That's one of the things that Billy really wants us when it comes to buying bread, look at nutrition.
Hey, sweetheart, can you push this mute button right there? The one over the white light? Perfect. Hold on, don't go too far. Okay, turn it on. Thank you. Okay, hit it, mute it again.
The industry should not be allowed to even make that. What's the purpose?
6 foot on there.
Just trying to trick us into thinking we're getting something?
Tell me if you get any signal.
Products that actually have good nutrition.
Okay, here's Robbie. Good, because I can't pin a power back. Yeah, because I just hooked you into the main. You're going to get everything you use it. Everything that goes on.
Will I hop into Yeah. So.
Go for it. Wow. Oh, it's an output, that's why. It's not going back.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Because they have a lot of energy on
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
the minerals and the wet stuff too. Stick to the basics. Give a good basic nutritious meal.
don't do as I say. Do it. You're supposed to practice it. Whatever. You know. And it's just not.
Don't recuperate from that last shoot.
The next day, I got
Well,
comparison built.
and then when it comes to the government program, then we go down to Monday.
But absolutely.
Well, again, when you look at the money spent,
Okay, if we could get started up again, and Wanda, you want to come up here? And
federal and state do.
so the first two speakers are from DHS. Wanda Embry is our first speaker, and you're going to talk about the SNAP program, correct? Is this okay for you, or do you want it a little harder?
That's
A little harder? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And each of these speakers will take about 10 minutes or so, okay?
spotlight. Good morning, everybody. I'm Wanda Embry, and I'm actually the Assistance Payments Administrator at the Fremont County Department of Human Services. So I do oversee the SNAP program, among other financial programs that we do have out at the Department of Human Services. What we want to do is I put together our statistics that we actually had in Fremont County at the end of August, which were in your packet about the statistics, so you could get an idea of where we are right now in Fremont County. Our caseload has increased. We actually, with the SNAP program, the intent is to supplement. You know, that's the actual intent. But we all know very well that many of our families solely depend on the SNAP benefits to supply them for their month's worth of food. And we know they don't last. As your statistics are showing already, people run out long before the month, before we even go. Another thing, as you'll see, we do have a flyer in here that tells you what the gross income, the benefits, and some basic information about the SNAP program. That's another thing that's difficult when we have clients come in to see us for benefits. We do have to use gross income. We don't have a choice. And we all know that taxes and different things come out of our checks, and we don't see, you know, that gross income, but yet the food assistance is based on that gross income. And so that's really difficult also because we have to count that income that we know that they don't see. We have no choice. There are specific mandates that we have to go by. We can't deviate from what we're able to give out to the clients. It's all set, and that does come down at the federal level as well as the state level. One thing that's really disheartening is being able to tell a client that they're not eligible. You see these clients are struggling, they're working hard, but they're $20 over income. That's just one of the hardest things ever, because again, we don't have that ability to change that for them. And it's really tough when they're sitting there trying to figure out how they're going to feed their families or feed themselves through the month, because they're just over income that little bit. And that doesn't account for, as we've heard earlier, if you're on a special diet, that even makes it worse. Also, one of the problems are our homeless people. You know, yes, we can give food assistance to them, but they don't have the facilities to possibly buy a dozen of eggs to try to get that to last through the week, because they don't have nowhere to store that. They don't have the facilities to cook that. Those are other barriers that we run into. So most of the time then they are going to buy the prepackaged foods, which uses those benefits up even quicker than the 3 weeks that you were talking about, because that's what they have to depend on. And there was a mention earlier a little bit about the stigma of the food assistance, and luckily there is the Quest card now. It used to be the little paper coupons, so it's not as noticeable when people actually are on food assistance. It's like a little debit card. But again, you know, you hear a lot of the talk out there that, well, they're on food assistance and they're buying steak and shrimp, it must be nice. You know, that's not the norm. People are just trying to stretch those dollars, and as we all know, a pound of hamburger almost anymore is as expensive as a steak. And hamburger used to be one of those, you know, meals that you could make last or spread out, and now, you know, when it's $5 a pound, that even makes it more difficult when the benefits at the minimum amount for one person, the maximum amount is $194. So you figure a pound of hamburger uses up a chunk of that right quick. And in studies, you know, we hear a lot of stuff also, you know, we get a lot of referrals that people are abusing the system, and actually there's fewer people out there that are actually taking advantage of that. That is a benefit out there, and people are using it for what it needs to be used for, to help their family so that they can have meals. Also, people don't just walk in the door and get those food assistance benefits either. There are requirements of them. So it's not like, okay, I'm not working, so I'll just go get food and then everything is provided for them. They are required. There are specific requirements that they have to abide by. If they truly are not working and are not a disabled person and have that ability to work, they are required to cooperate with our works programs. And basically what happens is they get approved for an initial month of a benefit, but then they're required to go to these classes and do assessments so that our case managers can help them. Either do they need a GED, help them do job searches, you know, help them get into school. There's some different things that we try to do to help them so that they can become self-sufficient and move forward. And oftentimes, one of the barriers that's really tough for us is we mandate that they go to these classes, but yet they don't have transportation. Again, we'll run into that as well as you know, people getting to the store so they can buy their benefits. If they don't have transportation, they're trying to walk. It's difficult to buy a month's worth of groceries and try to stretch those dollars, again, because you're trying to carry bags of groceries back and forth. So again, I don't think, you know, in those situations they may not be eating as healthy as they could be. Transportation is definitely a barrier. So then if they don't show up to their class, we're required to do a sanction against them, which essentially shuts off their food assistance benefit. So then adding to the problem of hunger. Our caseloads have definitely increased, especially over the past 2 years. We've seen probably a good 30 to 40% increase just in the food assistance alone. Along that kind of coincides with the Medicaid expansion that's been in place for the last couple of years. And we are, just as at the pantries, we're seeing people who have never applied for assistance in their life and not realizing knowing what to expect. So we're, you know, and trying to have that compassion, but oftentimes we are so set with appointments, it's hard. Sometimes they just want somebody to talk to. So the relationship issue that's been brought up, a lot of times our case managers are able to sit and spend that extra time with them because they have 5 more appointments coming in right after. So that is sometimes frustrating because it's hard to try to help direct them time-wise, you know. And we have a great staff. They really do a good job in helping direct, and we have a great working relationship with a lot of the people that are out in our area. So I think that's a real positive that we're all able to work together. But again, people have never been in there before. So as an agency, we do try to do real-time eligibility. So if people do come in, because what we've learned is a lot of times clients wait because of the pride or the stigma that is associated with food assistance. They don't want to have to come and ask for assistance. So oftentimes they wait until they're dire before they finally walk in that front door. Our purpose is to try to get them benefits same day as long as they have everything. But a lot of times, again, if they've never been on assistance, they don't know up front maybe everything that they need. So we have to ask them for additional verification. And it's tough because they don't understand that piece of it, needing all of this documentation. And sometimes the people have recently become homeless, so trying to find the information that they need and us being required to have that, it's really challenging for the technicians to try to, you know, we want to do everything to get them those benefits, but then also the requirements are on our people as well. A lot of people, when they do bring in their documents, Again, as I stated, the caseload is large, so we have these increases. The technicians do try to keep on top of that as soon as they come in, but oftentimes we're not able to process that. That's also a stressor on the technician as well, because they have 5 new cases that have walked in that same day, but then we still have an additional 3 that have turned in their documents that they try to get to. But I can say that we do a really good job, and people usually, as long as they have everything in there, never have to usually wait more. There's been times where it's been 2 weeks, but usually all of those cases are still processed within a week. So I think that's a plus, trying to get those benefits to these people, but it's still oftentimes a struggle because it's not enough. They definitely need more. I don't know that I took 10
Thank you very much. Again, we're trying to create short, powerful presentations because we value your time. And made a mistake in inviting you and telling you that we'll be done at 1:30. But one thing I do want to let everybody know is after 1:30, when we wrap up in here, anybody who wishes to meet with the people that are out there in the tables, or you want to connect with somebody that you heard from here, we do want to start establishing relationships amongst us. So we're going to be, hoping that you'll be hanging out for about an hour or so, getting to know each other, what kind of services are being provided. Okay, so Ms. Quiddick, Stacy is going to represent, talk about a different aspect of services that are provided. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I was really excited to come and learn what's going on in our community and see how the department could help. And then at the last minute, I was asked to speak today. So I'm not sure what I can contribute to the conversation. I feel a little bit like Deb did earlier. I don't enjoy public speaking that much. So anybody who wants to come support me, you're welcome to. Thank you. Thanks. I'm Stacy Quiddick, and I have the honor of working in child welfare and adult protection. And I work with our Options for Long-Term Care program, which is a program really for, it's a nursing home prevention program to keep the elderly and disabled in their own homes. So I feel like earlier Tommy was speaking to the fact that there's a gamut. Hunger doesn't just live within one population, and I work with that every single day. So with babies and then the elderly. And I find it a privilege to be able to work where I do. I just wanted to touch on a couple of points. One of the things earlier today that I appreciated, Bill challenged us to think about why we're here, and that really made me start thinking why I became a social worker. I specifically wanted to feed the hungry. I went into it wanting to do that, and it took me, I ended up in a path of particularly child welfare, but every day face the same situation of children and the elderly who are hungry. And I think the reason I'm there is because I grew up, like many social workers, grew up in a household with food instability. I remember where hamburger helper was really kind of a luxury. Pretty much grew up on ramen noodles and mac and cheese. And to this day I still love mac and cheese, believe it or not. But I think that prompts you to have a passion for things and wanting to help solve that. So that's why I'm so happy to be here today. 61% of the reports we get of abuse or neglect are specifically neglect. And once we get out and investigate situations, it's a lack of resources. And so that's primarily what we do in child welfare, is connect families and children with the resources that they so desperately need. So that's one of the primary reasons I wanted to be here today, was to find out about some missing resources that I wasn't aware of. And like everybody else has said, some of the big gaps are transportation, not knowing where the resources are, not being able to make the food assistance stretch over a period of time. One of the things that we do in child welfare is we have a life skills worker where her sole job is to provide education. So helping people budget in order to make the food last, helping folks eat healthy on a budget, things like that. But we can always use assistance in furthering our education and being able to do that better. So I'm hoping to make some connections this afternoon on how we can do that better. We coordinate a lot with Wanda's unit, making sure that if, one of the things that happens if children have to be placed out of the home, benefits often stop for the parents. And so we need to be able to make sure that when the children are able to return home, that we get those benefits back in as quickly as possible. And so we do a lot of coordination to try to make that a smooth transition, to make sure that things are as easy on families as possible. As far as our adult protection and our options for long-term care programs, one of the big things we see, and I think someone spoke to it earlier, is truly people have to choose. Am I going to buy my medicine or am I going to buy food? And so just thinking about what tough decisions people make. People are not choosing to not eat. Sometimes it's that they literally don't have that option. It's not there for them. And so doing everything that we can to provide those resources, connect them with resources, that's just so much of what we do. And I loved what Kristen was talking about earlier about the special diet. So many of the folks that we work with are on special diets for being diabetic or whatever, and so that just does really complicate their meal planning, their shopping, and definitely makes it to where their food does not stretch. One of the things that was so impactful to me, and so this is my challenge for everybody in the room that is food secure, I would challenge you to do the challenge that we did for loaves and fishes last year. And I believe at the time we did it on $6.30 a day. So we all tried to go a week of just eating off of that minimum amount. And now we just learned, Tommy did the math, right? And so it's more like $3.99 a day if you just look at the statistics for Fremont County. We learned so much about ourselves in that process. I mean, I really was almost embarrassed and ashamed of how much I normally spend on money and waste, how much food I waste, and how much I realized that so much of my social life is really around food. We'd go out to dinner, we'd go out to breakfast. I mean, we did so much around food, and how much that would impact somebody who had a sudden loss and wasn't able to do that anymore. So not just the nutritional piece, but socially and then emotionally, how that would affect you. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much for that. And now I'm going to introduce an individual that I got to know actually from that 6:30 banquet. And it's amazing that the work that she does, the compassion that she has, and I truly feel blessed that she came on board with us and is helping us with our endeavors, and that I've gotten to know her, and can't say enough about that. So please welcome Dee Dee Clemens from Lowe's Efficiency.
Wow, we have been blasted with a lot of information today. And that's good, because I think that was our goal. Our goal was really to just expose all the folks that came to our summit and just give you a lot of information about a lot of different things. And so hopefully we've done that well. And it is exciting to be part of a hunger task force and folks coming together and wanting to eliminate hunger in our community. I believe that this truly is a solvable issue. There is a solution, and I'm hoping that today and further meetings down the road or further gatherings down the road that we will actually be able to do that. So this morning I was kind of asked to talk about food banks and food pantries, and I just want to really be transparent and honest about that. And so some of the things that I share today may be shocking to some of you, and I hope that those of you who know me well know how much I love my job and know how much I love the families that we serve. But some of the things I'm going to say may be surprising. So I found this interesting, that the first food bank that came to the United States or was established in the United States actually happened in 1967, and it happened with the St. Mary's Food Bank. They came up with the name Food Bank for obvious reasons. The idea was that there were individuals, businesses that had excess food, and they would deposit it, and then there were families that would go in and withdraw it. So that's sort of how the name came about. And the gentleman that established food banks, his motto was, "The poor we will always have with us, but why the hungry?" And his name was John Van Hengel. And I was thinking about that. I wonder if Mr. Hengel would be proud today of the path that food banks and food pantries are on. I wonder if he knew that 50 years later, food banks would still be in business, or if he really felt that we would be able to eliminate this problem much quicker than what we have done. I don't know, there's a part of me that feels like he probably would have hoped that it would have been eliminated much sooner. While food banks, food pantries have been instrumental in helping to feed hungry children and adults, I'm not sure we can say that we have actually reduced hunger in our community. That's a pretty serious statement there. Loaves and Fishes has been serving families in need for 30 years, and I can honestly say that I don't believe the need has lessened any in our community because we're here. I believe that there are families that are eating better or more, but I can't say that we've actually reduced hunger in our community. I think intentionally food pantries were designed to be temporary and to fill an emergency need, but that's not the case anymore. We've actually become part of the food budget. We are no longer, originally the idea was that we would provide you 3 days worth of meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Many food pantries have moved away from that because we can't do that. And so we've actually are now supplementing food budgets that families already have. Here's a staggering